I'm here at Lava Canyon at Mount St. Helens, and as usual, it's an amazingly beautiful place. It's so nice. Okay, what I'd like to talk with you about is I want to walk through the entire process from a more mechanical standpoint of crawling, indexing, querying, and then results. And we'll talk in more detail about results later. So this will be a little bit of a review about indexing and querying, but it'll also be a notch down. And this is the notch I want you to know about. I want you to be able to look at stuff like you're seeing here on this slide and be able to make sense of it and be able to work through why did all these things happen and where did they come from and how is a result produced. So let's walk through that. I've said that, that Google search consists of indexing, querying, and creating results. Indexing, you remember, is where Google goes out and crawls the entire web, grabs the page content of every web page that it finds anyway, puts it into its cache, and then indexing is also the process of taking all those words, shaking them up, putting them into a giant, what I've called full text index, and then you can ask questions and that index actually answers the questions. So let's see exactly how that happens. Here we have three web pages. Of course, Google indexes billions and billions of pages, but we're going to focus on these 3 pages because this will tell us enough to understand the process. Page 1 HTML, 2 HTML, and 3 HTML. I've abbreviated what's on those pages to keep things as simple as possible. Page 1 starts with the words crazy, followed by the word cat. Then there's a bunch of intervening text, maybe thousands of words. Then the word cat crazy comes up again later in that in 1.html. I think I might have said it the other way around. Cat crazy is what starts the document, lots of intervening text. Then cat crazy occurs again. Then there's some other text. Okay, that's what 1 HTML looks like. What does 2 HTML look like? There's a bunch of text. That's what those ... the ellipsis means. Then the word crazy followed by the word elf. Then a bunch of text. Then the word crazy. Then a bunch of text. Then the word elf. Okay, so what I've done is I've pared these web pages down to just the 3 words that we're going to concern ourselves with so we can make it through this example. Then finally 3.html has a bunch of text, the word cat, a bunch of text, the word elf, a bunch of text, and the word elf again. Okay, so when Google goes out and finds these pages through its spiders, through its bots, it takes them, it's going to shake them all up, and it's going to make an index out of them. Let's take a look at the index that gets made from just these 3 words on these 3 pages. That index has 3 columns, the word that's on the page that it came from, and what position on that page it's in. So you can see that cat occurs in 1.html. It also occurs in 3.html. In 1.html, it's in position 1, and it's in position 20. In 3.html, excuse me, it's in position 3. Okay, you get the idea? This table summarizes all the words, at least the 3 words that we're looking at right now, what pages they're on and what positions. And what you'll see now is that this simple approach to shaking up all the words, putting them in an alphabetical index, and making links back to where they occurred on the pages is enough to answer all the kinds of questions that we've talked about before. All the kind of questions that I talked about in the query lecture. So let's run through those. Simplest query, single word, just the word crazy. When I type the word crazy into the Google search box, it says, find me all pages where the word crazy occurs regardless of its position. Right? We're ignoring position altogether at the moment. And if you look at our index, you'll see that that appears in 1.html and 2.html. Okay, a little bit more sophisticated query, crazy space cat. If you'll remember, when you put spaces in your query, it means and. I want to find the word crazy and the word cat. But at this point still, I'm ignoring the position of those words on the page, just any page that has both crazy and cat on it somewhere. And you see from looking at our index that only 1 page meets that criteria. We call that a search criteria. The criteria has to have crazy and cat. Only 1 page meets that criteria, and it's page 1.html. Okay, next one down the line, crazy or cat, meaning give me any page that has the word crazy on it, or a page that has cat on it, or perhaps it has both on them, but it doesn't matter to me if it has both. It just has to have one or the other on it. And looking at our index, we see that all 3 of our pages have either the word crazy or the word cat on them. So all 3 of the pages will be returned as results. So some vocabulary here, not really important vocabulary, but I want you to have heard it. I issue a query. That query has criteria. The criteria are the things the parts of the question that I'm asking. The Google search engine reads those criteria and finds web pages that match the criteria and returns them as results. Returns them as results means finds them and presents them to you. Okay? I issue a query. That query has criteria. Google looks at those criteria, finds pages that match that criteria, and then returns those pages as results. Okay, continuing down the line, we now have crazy cat in quotes. Now, when I put the quotes around it, as you'll remember, that means I'm literally looking for that phrase, crazy cat, and I care now about the position. In fact, the position of the word cat has to be right next to one greater than the position of the word crazy. And if you look at your index, you'll see that there aren't any pages that meet that criteria, that match those criteria, so no pages come back. We have pages that have crazy on them. We have pages that have cat on them. We also have pages that have crazy and cat on them, but we have no pages where the word cat is in a position right next to the word crazy. Okay, now let's try the next one. Crazy dash cat. If you'll remember from my previous lecture, the dash means not. So we give me all the pages, return all the pages that have the word crazy but do not have the word cat on them. And if you look at our index, you'll see that 2 pages have crazy, 2 pages have cat, but only 1 page has crazy and not cat. And that page turns out to be 2.html. 2.html has crazy elf but no crazy cat. Okay, starting to get the idea? We can use this index and the position, we can use this index to answer all manner of questions that you might ask Google. And this is how Google does it as well. Okay, now I have crazy elf, where crazy is one before elf. That's the quotes, a literal phrase, crazy elf. And as it turns out, I look in my index and I see crazy on 2.html is in position 4 and elf is in position 5. So I do have a page where elf directly follows crazy, and I can tell that by the position on the page. So bingo, I got a hit there. I return, or Google returns, 2.html. Okay, the final one I want to look at is the one where we have around. If you remember from my previous lecture, around means nearby, and it doesn't have to be before or after, it's just within. So the word crazy within 10 words of the word cat, and if we look at our index, we will see that we have on page 1.html, cat in position 1, crazy in position 2, that's within 10. We also, by the way, have cat in position 20, crazy in position 21, and that also constitutes a hit. That also constitutes a match, but we have 2 matches on the same page, and it doesn't return those as 2 different matches. It just says, oh, even more. So when we get to talking about which is ranked higher, we would guess that the one that has it 2 times is going to be matched higher than one that only has it 1 time. But at the moment, what we're really concerned with is the idea that when I say around, I mean position within 10. In this case, I have a little 10 in there. I could do 5, I could do 15, whatever. And in this case, there's only 1 page that matches that criteria. Okay, let me summarize this one more time. These 3 pages are out there on the web somewhere. Google spiders, it downloads them into its cache, it shakes them all up, creates this Mondo index, and in this case it's not so Mondo, it's really only got 3 words and 3 pages, but you can imagine that this is not how it usually is. There's usually a whole lot more than that. And it makes this table out of it, noting the page that each word came off of, puts the words in alphabetical order, notes the page and the position on each page, and using that page and position and the word, we can answer almost any question that you care to ask on Google about those pages. In our next lecture, I'll talk about what it does with the results. So far, we've only just said, well, here are the results. Now what do we do with them?